So streaming definitely is worth it. The other question, the COPA piece, I would definitely have to look into. So that's a good one though. All right, so we always start off just being ourselves. So right now we're live. Here's what's up on the screen. I do apologize. I'm just using the webcam, right, just to show you can just use it right from here. Just get your angle good. And we usually start out with, "Hey Dom, how you doing, man?"
Pretty good, Eric. Pretty good.
All
Got
right.
some echo.
You got it going through your mic. So we happen to be here at ISTE, doing a lot with PAECT with the playground. Happened to found our way into room 125, snuck in, and we got some stuff going on. What all we got going on?
Besides free coffee, doing a little bit of a presentation, I guess, on podcast.
All right. Well, I guess if we're going to do a presentation on the podcast, we should probably do something a little bit more. What do you think?
Sounds good. It is Tuesday, so might as well fire up the
PAECT pod. Tells you how long till it goes to the end. So welcome to the PAECT pod special ISTE live edition. My name is Eric Verno. I am the vice president of PAECT, which is the Pennsylvania state affiliate of ISTE. And with me is my co-host,
Dom Salvucci. I'm the regional director of the Southwest region of PAECT. I'm a high school teacher north of Pittsburgh, New Brighton area school district, and glad you guys came to join us this morning for the PAECT pod.
Yeah. So by day, I am a sixth grade math, science, Lego robotics, do our 3D printing in Dallastown, which is in York, Pennsylvania. So about a little over 2 hour drive from here. So not too far. So we're talking about putting on a live podcast. So right now we're streaming live to all the different places, plus the people that are watching at home from the ISTE live, the virtual. So hello to everybody watching there. Thank you for putting up with us. So Dom and I got together. We said, you know what, we want to put together a podcast. How can we do it? Very easily. Yeah, you could go on and we could, on the Mac, we could do the product. We could, just create the video, download it, work on splicing it, putting it together. But you know what? We needed something a little bit more nimble, more quick, features like that.
Yeah. And the one thing I found, like, I'm very bad at posting blogs because I was torn between being a history teacher and an English teacher. And whenever I do from way back growing up in the 70s, the, outline, pre-write, edit, finalize all the copies, you never get to a finished product. And whenever I did some podcasting before and I was doing recording and stuff, I never got to the finished product. It was taking too long. And with StreamYard and some of the other things, it's what I use in my classroom, I find it's easier and I'm getting product out there. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not pretty sometimes, but that's important, especially if you're working with kids, for them to know that it doesn't always have to be perfect. And I stress that with my students whenever we do a lot of multimedia projects. I'm not grading you on how well you're speaking into the microphone because you don't do that all the time. It's what's the content. If you stumble over words, if you mispronounce things, it's okay. Now, and I always joke, like, kids will be like, the spelling count on tests. Like, if on multiple choice, yes. In open-ended questions, no, unless you're getting like JFK and FDR confused, that's going to count. But if it's close, we're good. And same with the multimedia. If you mispronounce a few words, show the kids you're human, because if you're waiting to get it perfect, you're probably never going to get something out on in public.
Yep. So now, as Dom was talking, if you notice here, I have the section for under banners, and we've created some banners. We've created the scrolling banner, nice and fancy. We act like, CNN and all your news shows with the ticker tape going. You can add, we talk about our PD that we offer, check Facebook, all the different messages you might want to have along the bottom. All right. So if it says ticker, it means it's scrolling. If there's something that we want them to focus on, just hold it still. And it's a toggle, turn it off, or turn it on, turn it off with the click. So now this is just when I created, that's just a stationary one. So that way people can watch, because it's tough to get a website as it's scrolling across if you want them to type it. So to create your banners in this area under banners, you just click on create banner. Gives you this little area to type in your information. And then you can choose here whether I wanted to scroll it. And then the nifty little feature that, some of my students pointed out, they said, they'll find the pod. I don't necessarily broadcast in the classroom because just what we do with PACT is usually just for, educators. But they were complaining about how boring our ticker was looking. So then, of course, you can go ahead and use your emoji keyboard and add those in there. So we got little calendar, put the microphones in there, and they just, were critiquing us and making sure we just jazz it up a little bit. So, but definitely interesting. So again, real simple to add in as we're live and maybe talking to a guest. If they didn't give us some information, they might be talking about a website. And Dom and I, we could both go in and create banners at the same time. Yes. So we'll go in and quickly add the website, and then it's up on the screen. So it's nice that we're both in and we're both co-producing this show.
Yeah, as long as you're on the website as a producer, and we both have the production rights on that, we can go in. Our guests can't go in and add things, but they usually give us information ahead of time. Today, because it's early, if you click on the comments, people that are commenting on social media, their comments can pop in, and then you can push them out onto the screen for others to see. Comes in from Twitter, YouTube. We did have to close down YouTube because we did get spam. The one show was Panic in the Streets because there were a lot of inappropriate sites and links popping up. But we learned how to shut that down because our guest was pretty handy with that, and he encountered that issue previous.
Yes. Yep.
Is StreamYard a more advanced version of OBS?
So what we are investigating, the firm we're talking about is Jeff Bradbury, who does the Educator Tech podcast. And with OBS, you have to set up all of your frames, all of your shots. Like right now, we have a 2-frame, and I can switch it so more of the banner's showing. Later, if we have a third guest, we can actually because so I'm larger, and it would be the 2 other people over here. If I want to switch it, I drag and drop. For OBS, you have to set all of those features up ahead of time. So when I was talking to him, he's produced, I think he even ran the what is it, ISTE Edge or, whatever that ISTE had. So he was doing that production, and he talked about the hours and hours he would use setting up OBS. So that steered us away from OBS right away because, finding time to get all your grading, all your other stuff, as opposed to also setting up all these frames. And he always said whenever the show was over, he'd always think about, should have done X, Y, and Z with different scenarios. So, so these are all preset. You can even see where if I'm, when we share our screen, we'll do some other stuff too. And just recently, StreamYard allows you to edit and create new layouts. So I can add items. So it's using this background. I can say, I want a media slot. Where do I want to move it? So it's giving you a little bit of that, but not as heavily as OBS. Again, it's open source. It's great. But all the work that, in talking to the different people that went into it, we just didn't feel there was a bang for our buck or the value. So that's why we went to StreamYard. Was there another question?
The other one is, now there's another one. Can you demo switching the imaging on the podcast?
Yep. Yeah. Like right here, right now, just clicking on the down below. And because so now Dom's going to be sharing this later. So now we put this on one, and we have our pictures on the side over here. If we're like, okay, we're not necessarily good with that, we want to be on either side. All right. So we could, I set it up so our images are on the side. That's in the middle. So little things you can do to kind of spruce up like that if we want to do. All right. So now, so my ticker, hold on one second. So we're down here at the bottom, and then we have what we want to feature at the top. And then, of course, if we have that, Dom sharing his screen and demoing something, we could just get rid of us.
Do you need to have video, or can StreamYard be just audio, and can you record and upload later?
All right. So
you can record it. You can record and upload later. It has a record only. There is a video component, so you would go in, probably just share your screen, and how Eric had it here. If we go add this in, and then
file. It stores it in the cloud. I can download it as needed. And then, but if you just wanted to just go in here and we had a couple teachers that weren't able to make our show live. So we were able to pull them in, do a quick little interview. We recorded it and we downloaded it and then we re-uploaded it. And we haven't gone into that pain and show you some of those features of that, but that's one thing that you can do. So if they don't want to do it live on the spot.
And like PACT has a playground. We'll throw props to PACT over in the big hall where you first came from the hotel. That's the playground area. We have our own playground. So we've had a conference within a conference going on over there. We have people presenting. We went around and interviewed people and interviewed them on my phone, recorded the video, and in future shows, we can upload that and drop that in because we weren't live at the time and we don't want to carry a lot of equipment around. So just record it off my phone. We'll upload it later and add that to a future episode. So you can work remotely and it's easy to just drop it into the feed and put it out.
Mm-hmm. And yes, sir. It's all web based, so you can use anything. Yep. Yeah, it's bandwidth is what it boils down to. Yeah.
Yes.
They give you like so many streams.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is not the free. Yep. So they'll just limit how many you send out to, but you record it, so you can still put it up there. Great question. Great comment. Yes.
Is there an app that I can have on my phone or iPad or something?
It'll work on your iPad, but there's not an app. It's all web based. You could actually go in. I struggle on he has one of the flip phone thingies, which I hate admitting that because I'm older, my eyes aren't as good, so I can't work as well on mine. But it probably works better on the iPhone, like technically. But my fingers and my eyes aren't as good as his flip phone.
And we always go back and forth, Microsoft PC versus Apple, blah blah blah. Fold and Android versus. So it's part of our shtick that we go at each other with. So anyway, you're opening up some wounds here. We're told to behave in front of the audience. Okay, online they can chuck stuff at us, but so we got to behave. Great questions. Any other questions? Anything? Yes.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yes.
Yep. So honestly, early on, you go onto Amazon for the $40 microphone. Makes it look fancy with the little boom, right, and it comes with a boom arm for you to hang down. So if you watch any of our shows, you'll see that we both have boom arms coming in, and we just started with this. There's times where the mic failed, and we just went with the computer. So your students are just going to use their microphone on their computer. It's fine. It's going to be. It doesn't go through and necessarily optimize the audio or anything of that, but it is what it is. It's a great scenario. When we did some research, we just stepped up to the Rode podcast mic. So these are $100. So it's not like if you watch a lot of every single celebrity now has a podcast and they all use the Shure 500 or 700 mic, which is $700 on a good day, right up to $1,000. So, but yeah, just the Rodecaster podcast mic, we love it. They've been great.
Yeah, I've used at times, and I almost had to today because I forgot the mic stand. We had to borrow one from ISTE, just my earbuds, and plug it into the computer and run it. You don't need a lot of equipment we upgraded a bit because we're trying to look professional, not necessarily professional, but better because it's not our podcast. Like personally, we are the host, but we're doing it for an organization. I do a podcast for my classroom, and I do like the dad joke of the week, student email of the week. I make stuff up just so I pretend the kids are asking questions. And I do have kids that actually listen to it, which surprises me. But if it's yours, you can do whatever you want with it. But because we're representing PAECT, we try not to be like too obnoxious because we don't want to reflect badly or that badly on the organization.
You can say we try, but it is what it is. Yes.
So I know you guys are both producers on this.
Yes.
How many producers do we have, or would you recommend that do?
So for the free version, you get one producer,
Okay,
but you can have up to 8 guests,
okay,
right? So we did the free version, and then they just fill the screen. Like it'll make it really small, so you kind of just adjust who's, that's the green room concept, who's back, who's forward. And it's like you said, once they go back, it automatically mutes them unless you're a producer in the presentation mode. We have to turn our mic on and off. So just real quick, we'll go over the lay of the land of what we have here. If you notice, 3 people are viewing live. All right, we got 3 people on YouTube. All right, so somebody was on and off on Facebook. That's why it showed there. And one person, they were nice, kind, gave us a little thumbs up, and that would be my wife. I'm paying her extra to be able to go on there and do that. So it was so much cooler if I didn't say thanks, honey. I appreciate it. All right, love you. And and then so you can see that automatically. Now, it doesn't go up on the screen like all the kids are used with, TikToks and Snapchat, but you just see it up in the corner. All right, so now we obviously probably your neighbor probably went online now.
He's not up yet. He's still sleeping.
So then you have that. Now, if somebody on socials comments, so we talked about the private chat area, that's just for everybody who's on, guests, producers, everybody sees the private chat. When I click on comments, all right, so this section here, I can say I want to send something to Facebook, YouTube. Twitter doesn't have that interaction for comments, and neither does LinkedIn. So if I type anything, hello and thanks for being here. And then when you click send, so it just takes a little bit, but it automatically sends out to those 2 places. If anybody replies, it shows up in this section. What's really cool is when it does, so a lot of times I'll be talking, and Dom's always really good at checking the comments. And the comment I posted is the only one we have here right now. Show, it'll pull on and say, give you the icon of who it was and what was said. So the people on the virtual ISTE are asking the questions to the moderator. When we're going live with the pod, we're seeing it right on the screen. It'll pop up. Oh, hey, we have some regulars that'll, kind of listen to us. And then we'll be able to answer their questions live as it's up on the screen. So that's a great feature there. Oh, and so, as Dom alluded to, we had to go onto YouTube to physically disable it on YouTube. Facebook, we kept open because it goes to our channel. Now, you don't have to show any, right? So, 60 people could put comments, good, bad, whatever. Yeah. And if you ignore it, nobody ever knows. Now, if I go onto Facebook, I would see it. All right. Yeah. If you have YouTube open, you go onto the platform, but it doesn't automatically show up on your show.
Yeah. So you control what is seen on the screen. Like, you can see if he clicks on that, you'll see it's scrolling on the side, but the audience won't see that. So you can filter anything inappropriate.
Yep. And with that being said, everything in this window is what's actually going out live. So if I was in here, and we'll get to this one second, but if I open something up, the people viewing aren't seeing this. They're still seeing us. You can still multitask on it. And I mean, how many of you are like me and like with everything? I'm struggling with only one screen right now. Is anybody like that? I gotta have like more than one screen, right? So anyway, so bear with me, but it's like I can't travel with all these monitors, But yeah, so I always have. I put this kind of in the middle of the 2 screens that I have. So when I look at it, I just use a Logitech 1080p. It's about 8 years old. I think they did a refresh, but the thing is so old. Anyway, so I just have it set up so I'm kind of looking at that. But I have other stuff on the screens on the side for notes or different things that are going on. So it's very active, but that window is all that people see live. If you're just recording it, that's all that's being recorded.
And I've run like my iPad in Sidecar because when Apple updated their iOS or their OS, I lost the ability to just plug in a USB monitor and run a second monitor. So until I convinced my wife that I need to buy, bless you, and a side monitor, I just use Sidecar, but it works. And I kind of wing it too. Like whenever I go to share, one thing we get into the sharing, there's a certain way to do it. So if you share your screen, you could scroll and move around. If you share it, there's I think 3 ways you can share it. If you share it only as a tab, it's static. You can't scroll. And we found that out the hard way. I was going on. I didn't have my second screen up. And Eric's like, excuse me. I'm like, don't talk over me. And he's like, we can't see what you're doing. It's just a static picture. I'm like, oops, my bad. So I did that intentionally.
All right, so we got comments and then banner. We did talk about those already. Turn them on, turn them off. They go across the screen. They're static. They stay. And then right here we have branding. So then here's where you can get, you can have your colors. So we put our name. All right, we put a bar. We have our Twitter handle. And we still can say, age is determined. If you have an underscore in your Twitter handle, you might have gray hairs. So they're not as common anymore, but back in the day it was, right? Or every so often we'll ask a guest, oh, that's a unique name, Rochelle Poth. I don't know if you know her. She's a friend of PAECT. We've known her for a while. She was on the show. She's been on the main stage a couple times here, and I was asking her about her Twitter handle, and she started laughing. It was like an old AOL. She had to go back to the AOL days and what they gave her. I thought it had like a 915 in it. I'm like, oh, maybe her first classroom was 915. We've all done that and made something, but so that was pretty funny. That got her laughing. But so while the show's going on, if I wanted to change, again, this is something that click of a button. You have to set some things up in OBS ahead of time. So again, not bashing it, but bottom line is your time is valuable. You want to make sure you're utilizing it for this and then moving on, not spending 15, 20 hours a week getting everything set up.
And you had mentioned how many people can produce. We did talk briefly about getting a third person to produce behind while we were hosting, but as we've gotten better, whether it shows or not, we have improved. And it's like we can handle it and work within it. So you don't really need it's easy enough to just click and we can take turns. Like we didn't bring them Stream Deck. It's a little box. They run 2, 3, or 4 sizes. We got like the second size up. And instead of having to scroll on the touchpad or use a mouse and click on all the side tabs, you can set that up and pre-program buttons. So as you're going, you just click and it scrolls through at a touch of a button. So as we're working, it's getting easier for us, so you don't need a third person producing. And with OBS, from what we understood, you do have to put in a lot of back-end time, and it is good to have. You need a more powerful machine than what you would use with what we're using.
Mm-hmm. And then the benefit of the Stream Deck is if you're worried about the mouse moving, seeing where I'm going, all of the window views, everything. There are guides out there that you could set the Stream Deck. So literally it's just the push of a button and it will do that for you. All right. Question? Yeah. Yep. So we're going to get to, we're going to jump over to that part just shortly. Yes. So at the beginning and again, right at the end, I said, we'll go back and I'll go quickly to show you how, if I was setting up the show. So his question was, how do I set up the stream keys? How do I put that information in? And we'll go in and quickly show you when we're setting up a new show where you would plug that information in. All right. So just to quickly go through again, you got icons I can put in the corner. So if you want different things, or maybe it's a silly little, picture or whatever for the kids. There's overlays you can put on and turn off as you're going through the show. Again, the videos. Again, the little transition videos. Now, once I press the video, we automatically are off. The video goes forward. So like we won't get to it, but we do a thing called tech notes. So we'll go ahead and and then we just transition over. So that helps us if we're splicing it for putting it into an Anchor. If we're using another one we've been experimenting and doing some stuff with is on Soundtrap. They got some really great features now to be able to put together some different audio. All right. And then Gina was able to get on.
She's a longtime listener, first time guest a couple episodes back. She's a PAECT member. She is a loyal listener. We appreciate her being on all the time.
And then StreamYard just added relatively recently background music. So you can play it as you're going and you can adjust the volume if you want that. All right. So we got the different features. So again, you add the stream, you remove from stream. We're demoing there. Here at the bottom, I can mute, stop camera, and then settings. So we talked about settings. So in settings, you have your general. All right. Shift video sub. Do I want audio avatars automatically add? So just scrolling through. So I'm not going to do like death by PowerPoint, read everything on the screens. The big one, you want to make sure your camera off the bat. You want to make sure that's good. Make sure you're centered because some of the shots, when it shrinks down, you want to make sure that it's centered and you're not off. And all of a sudden now it's just half of you. You could adjust. So again, when I'm using an external, USB camera, webcam, in here is where I would change it to that other webcam. And then I would decide, so if the bandwidth, if the Chromebook, you have 30 kids in a room, they're all hitting your WAP port. If that becomes an issue, you can downgrade that ability a little bit. You're going to be watching it on the small devices. It's not going to degrade it, but you can drop that down to 720 if you need to. And I never mess with mirror, but some people, different things when you're talking, you might want to have the mirror your camera. You can look at your audio settings. We always keep echo cancellation on. And then you can add virtual background. So this is one where, and even when I do this, as I'm doing this, here, see if it clicks in. So when I do this and leave, it's automatic. So while that was happening, the people watching didn't it was really bad video because they couldn't see what we were just doing there. But that was for you guys, right? All the setting features, they have no idea that I was in there messing, except now they see a brick wall behind me. And just quickly closing it out, when looking at the recording, you talked about high quality, a cloud recording, so it does save so many, just like you have so many hours for free. Here's your hotkey setup. So when I'm setting up the Stream Deck, okay, what keys are doing that? And then it automatically pulls that in. Then your different layouts, they're all laid out here, the ones that I want. And if I want to add or another spot where I can do it. And then finally, just some different information about what the guests can or cannot do, or play a sound when the guest enters, different things of that nature.
We have a question up front.
So I looked at the button that you have a podcast little studio set. We do representing, and you got one producer. If I have a couple of different cameras, and we're just flipping using the cameras, that isn't like in front of us, kind of like a camera. Can I have multiple cameras as well?
Yes.
So perfect segue. Button after settings is present. And in the presentation section, I can pull in slides, right, from Google for my computer. So then they'll just be the feature where I add the stream. I can add an extra camera. Now, this is the thing. So my device, extra camera, Dom, extra camera. That's where you would get to more than just one extra camera if you wanted to do multiples. Only producers can add a camera. But anybody could add the slides, video file to be able to play and sharing their screen. All right, so you click on extra camera, it's going to pull up and say what camera. Again, you're checking it, your stream. And when you click share, it'll put it down. And then it adds that second camera right there. All right. Yep. And then if I don't want it, I can just hear and say stop. All right. And then final, sharing the screen. So when I go in here, I can. So I use Microsoft Edge, so I can use one of the tabs. If you're using Chrome, it'll say that. If you're using Safari, it'll say that. All right, any browser you're using. All right, if I want to share a window, so sometimes one of my monitors, I'll share that whole window. So whatever I drag up there will be what is demoing. And then just an entire screen, right? The main screen that I'm on.
And Windows, what you want to use. Like right now, if I pull up Add to Stream, that's a window. I just pulled the tabs I want to show for the presentation into its own window. If I set it up as tab, this would be static. But since I have it as window, I can go through. We use BBWorks Wiki to host our presentation. This is what I use to edit audio. soundtrap.com. We have a code we can give you. You get 90 days free for the higher end Soundtrap. I download from StreamYard when we're done. I go into StreamYard, I download the audio, I'll upload it into Soundtrap, and I'll add it, go file and import, and I'll pull the MP3 file off my computer, and I can get a transcript. Click on transcript, and it will pull up a transcript of our podcast, the audio file. So instead of having to sit there and listen, and before we use this, it's like listen and try and cut on, a GarageBand or whatever. Like, did I cut it right? Do I have, a splice where I need to have a splice and fiddle with it? I could just go through and just read the transcript and know where to cut things. Yes. Yes, you can record. And then, yes. And then you record it, you download it, and you can push it to wherever you want. If you want to house it privately, like in a Google Drive, and lock it down so only people with that URL can access it, you can. One thing we did, like with the transitions, Eric mentioned earlier, we put the transitions in to help us. It gives us a little more time as we've tried to edit and cut like our tech notes down and different segments out. We find by putting those little transitions in, it gives us room to play where I'm not the best at editing. It gives me room so I'm not cutting someone off mid-sentence or cutting off a guest. So building those transitions in on the live broadcast gives you more wiggle room on the back end for when you want to do editing. And so it comes out warts and all when we do the live. Well, we take turns. Like he'll do a lot of the front end production, the transitions and stuff, and I'll do the back end. And then I use Wakelet. If we come here, share my screen. I use Wakelet. What we found is because we talk about things and we throw links out, and when we talk about tech tools, or we talked about ISTE and various other things going on in our regions of PAECT and such. Instead of just having people listen to it and find it, I'll throw a Wakelet up and basically social bookmarking. I'll put all the links in that we talk about, and then I'll put this in the description of the video on YouTube, and we use Spotify, podcast Spotify, and it's in the directions or in the description so people can access all the links we talk about and see the information written down. So we want them to listen to it. Well, want them to watch the video, but it's easier for them to work with the things we're discussing when they can just click on it and find everything. Yeah. So classroom wise, I do a weekly podcast. Basically, it's here's what's going on in class. Here's what we did I teach U.S. history, 10th grade, honors and regular. Here's what we did in class. Here's the topics we covered. And like I said, I throw like a cheesy dad joke of the week, student email, school announcements, and some public service messaging. I'll throw some enrichment assignments up for the kids, try to get them to listen so they can get some enrichment points. And I push that out to the parents. We have Schoology, so I send out, here's the link every Saturday morning. Here's the link for what we did. So parents here's what we did in school. Here's what was graded. Here's what was turned in. Why wasn't this graded? Okay, he's busy. Mr. Sal's going to get to it. It should be graded by Tuesday. They know, so I'm not answering a bunch of emails to parents. Here's all the information you need. For students, I have them do a lot of multimedia presentations. Sometimes they'll do a podcast. They'll record audio. Sometimes they'll do a screencast. So we can use StreamYard. Sometimes I'll have them just do Screencastify because not all these students are comfortable. I use TC Studio TouchCast for a show because I have a Padcaster set up for my room. The district got me a couple years ago. We do a student talk show. So you can use any format. For this show, we use StreamYard. For my classroom, I'll use TouchCast because I have an iPad set up and the kids can use that and they've learned how to use that. I've used Screencastify because our district has the licensing. So you can use whatever you want. They submit it to me. I control what goes out. Even with TouchCast Studio, my students, we push it out to YouTube, high school kids. I'm like, I have to approve it before we send it out because it's my job on the line if something goes out that shouldn't be there. And I always tell the kids it's student run. It's, you guys come up with the ideas. I'll try and guide you a little bit, but I want them to create. But because it's my career on the line, I'm going to have final approval with what goes up on the internet. And we work it that way. But there's any kind of tool you can use. I've had the kids, instead of giving me a written report, can we do Google slideshow? Yes, but turn it into a screencast because our Google domain's locked down. So kids can make a fantastic presentation. No one's ever going to see it because parents can't even access it. You have to have school email. So I'm like, record it. Why? I said, you don't have to be on camera. You don't even have to read. You could have a guest reader, but you have to make the presentation. You have to organize. You have to do the research. So I put them in the groups, and I say you can work by yourself or up to so many people. We want to produce this. We want to push this out. This is digital citizen. It's a digital portfolio. You're putting yourself out there in a positive way, and you're working with it. And people are going to see what you do, so they hopefully take a little more pride in it than if you're doing a slideshow nobody's going to see and they're not even sure. As a teacher, I know we've put stuff in the stuff we've had to submit to administration, and they didn't read it because we put jokes in there and made stuff up, and we were never called in on it. And I know fairly certain my administrators aren't going to be listening to this, so I can say that because I'm safe. Question in the back.
So the question he asked was just talking about the benefits of going live or recording it, pushing out later. Trying to summarize that for people listening on virtual.
Students, I would definitely record because you could have that slip up. For us, we go live with this, but there's always, hopefully you don't make a bad mistake. And I have mispronounced people's names. I haven't said any bad words or anything like that, but there's always that chance. But with students, I always record because they're not comfortable. And I try with the students, they'll go out in the hallway and I'm on a spur. My floor is set up like a big giant tic-tac-toe board, the way the hallways run. And I'll put them around corners and record, and they'll get hung up. I mispronounced that word again. Don't worry about it. I emphasize, you've seen what I do. I mispronounce words. I stumble over things. Pause, go on. It's okay as long as you don't say anything inappropriate. Don't use last names. Then you can do that editing on the back end. But if it's live, that's where it gets a little dicey at times.
Correct.
Yeah,
He's asking about the editing features within StreamYard.
It's basic.
Yeah, StreamYard is as you go, right? So you're going live. All the transitions, everything I add are nested in. Any sounds are all nested in. So it comes out as a straight audio file, comes out as a straight video file. Again, that's a decision we made because we don't want to spend a couple hours editing kind of a thing. But when he'll go into pull it in to put it into Anchor or whatever, we have those transitions to be able to splice certain parts. So you can add, and you get it before you're getting ad revenues for it, or whatever you put it in the stream, Anchor ads or Spotify, whatever they're doing now. And I will say, there was also mention about the Chromebooks and this and that. If you're going to start with the audio, use Soundtrap because it works in the browser. So that's going to be universal for everything. The education account will have that link there to be able to have it. But for the kids, I would start there, have them do those little audio podcasts. If you have them doing video, just do the video built into whatever device you're using. Pull it in, whether it's Drive, OneDrive, whatever you're using, and then work on building the kids up to be the producer so they can record it. Because in the area where I had Brand, I can add videos, like all these videos we made, so I can upload all those videos. So they could talk and then boom, play the video. They could talk, play the video. So now you've gone from just they're making it, now a little step further. Now they're working on producing and pulling it in. but it's, you're not live. Now, when you get to the point, if you want to try kicking it live and doing a live show, you can. And another feature is we have multiple classes. So right here, you can actually choose, when I click this drop down, I can say, so we have KPI, different things. A school we did when we went remote, we were doing that. And then I do a thing called Bearded Tech, go figure. So different videos. When I click on the different branding, it'll pull up different pictures and videos and stuff that I've uploaded. So you can do that by period. Be like, science period 1, science period 2, whatever the case may be. And then those students, can do all that. And then with the Canva for Education, I mean, kids are going to make phenomenal short little videos. If you're like, hey, I need a 10-second, something with animation, hit Canva, go. I mean, they're going to come back with some awesome stuff. So that's how you pull them in to building that up.
And I've offered, like, one of my students was on our mock trial team, and I tell him, I says, you have the perfect voice for like doing voiceovers for radio. So I gave him enrichment points. He did a voiceover for one of our episodes, and he's like, it was towards the end of the year. He's like, can I do this next year, even though I don't have you for class? I'm like, sure. So I run a club. It's, What's Up New Brighton is the club. I tell the kids, I'll give you enrichment points if I have you for class. If not, I'll feed you. Bring in like giant Sam's Club containers of animal crackers and hot chocolate, and they come in during their free periods and work on it. So I can do it that way. The kids, I let them create, and they get enrichment points. It's not an assignment to get them interested. And you have kids who are into tech. They do video. I always try to explain to kids they don't want to do flip videos in class. They don't want to do a podcast. You're making TikToks 24/7. You're getting hollered at for making TikToks. It's the same thing. It's just a different platform. They have these skills. They just don't know how to apply them in an educational setting. And that's that bridge you want to build. And like last night, walking from one social area to another, there were kids doing a TikTok out in the middle of the street. And I like stop and go, sorry. Like, no, you can jump in. I'm like, no, I do that to my daughter. She gets angry because I'm like totally out of sync whenever I try and do the dance. Like, you guys go ahead. And they were laughing about it. But kids do this. But when you try and have them do it in school, it's like, well, how many points is it worth? And they start doing the math that they won't do on the math test. Can I afford not to do this assignment? How will it hurt my grade? Will I still? It's like you want to build that bridge. Yes.
You kind of made me think of something. I'm still kind of learning about podcasts, so
Sure.
excuse me if this is a dumb question. But
No such thing.
Why a podcast as opposed to like a YouTube channel or like a TikTok channel?
So the question is, why a podcast as opposed to more of a multimedia, a video, YouTube, or whatever? I would throw it out to your guidelines of your school.
Yeah.
Right. Because we usually get, if you don't get an email about any kids, they're all good to be, publicized. But if you start with that audio, you can gingerly work your way into that. And, and then again, whatever, I know there's several, moments where the kid shows up, the kid disappears, the kid shows up again and there's a changed outfit. Now you're going live. And then the parents are like, that's not what I sent them to school in. I mean, there's all those other little things that can happen. Just throwing that out there. But I would start with the audio pieces first.
And those are fine to use too. Like I always tell the students, here are the types of formats we can do for a project. I give them certain ideas. If there's something you want to do, please bring it up. Float the idea out there. I may accept it, I may not. I may not know about whatever type of project you want to do. So I always leave it open and encourage them to come up with their own ideas. But I have no problem with flip and things like that. But like some kids don't want to be on camera. Some kids don't want to read. So like you can have a guest reader, but you have to show me the work and you have to build the project. And I'll let someone like, I don't have to read. No, because not everybody's comfortable. And I always kid around like,
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I know that Soundtrap requires a paid subscription, basically. Is there any other audio editing resources that you guys have that don't require a paid subscription?
Yeah. Well, Soundtrap, there is a free level. We have a code that you could use to try it out. I use iMovie to edit the video portion, and I'm having a total mind blank.
And I would just say, so she's asking about, the
GarageBand
ability.
for the
Yeah. Oh, man, lab. There you go. Awesome. You gotta love the room. And even if you just literally open it up and just record the audio real quick on a Chromebook or whatever, it's just the audio file. Now using Soundtrap and some of those others allows the kids to add little noises or little things in there, things of that nature. All right, you had a question here, then we'll get the online question. Sir, did you still have your question?
Oh, God, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
This is,
asking about the microphones. Good.
this is a Rode. It is a USB hookup, but it adapts. You can run the regular high-tech cord if you want. We are looking into possibly getting a little sound mixer, and they run from like $50 up to thousands of dollars. Talking with people when we were at PAECT, talked with some people at a company, and they said probably for $100, economical for what we do, would work. You don't have to go super expensive. You can. But as I was saying earlier, people have said, I have a face for a radio and a voice for silent movies, and there's not much more you're going to fix with this. So,
Online question.
Online question for enrichment points, design as extra credit.
yes, but I don't give them straight points on top of their grade. I call it enrichment points depending on what they do. Project-wise, it could be like a 5 out of 5. It could be a 50 out of 50 assignment grade. So they're getting 100% depending on the involvement of what they're doing. It's a sliding scale for total points, but I'm not going to say, here's like you have a 70%. Now you have a 75% overall because you did this. So I make it an add-on grade. So it's not going to students.
Yeah. So let me just show the closeout part, and then we'll get those there, and we might have to take it in the hallway because I know the next session. But we're down to 3 minutes, so the Italians got to speed up. So real quick, there's 2 shirts that need to be made, right? For the years that we've had, you're muted, and you forgot to share audio would be the second one, right? So make sure when you are sharing, if there's any audio, you click the share audio. So I'm just showing you real quick. I'm going to show you if I was going in at the beginning of the show, like the other day, a couple days ago, I went in and I created the show. I set it so it pushed everything out to the socials. So you go in and literally you go to StreamYard.com. It'll say, oh, is this you? We'll send you a quick 6-digit code, emails it to you, you type it in, and you're in. All right, so there's no other
passwords.
No password or anything. So we're going to go ahead and create. And you can do a live stream, a recording, or an on-air webinar. And this is the paid feature, so you wouldn't have that with the free. So we're going to do a live stream. Okay, now, is it going to be in studio or is it pre-recorded? So now I can pull in those. So if I literally want to set it, it's going to fire up, it's going to kick out, I can have the whole thing pre-recorded. Or if I want to create it in studio, I'm going to create it in studio. Now, if I don't want to go to any socials, skip for now. Now I'm in just recording mode, and it's going to record in the cloud, and I can tell it to pull the file down. But if I do, I can add, and here are all the places I can go ahead and do it. Of course, your students will be like, oh, yeah, get a Twitch channel. You're going to be rocking. But, all right, so not going there. But, yes, so just all the different pages, the places where you can put it live. And then when you click in, it'll just ask you for your credentials, and you log in. And then when you go here and you plug it in, it's going to ask for a title, a description, and then schedule for later. I go into Canva, I make the thumbnail, I'll upload it, and I'll say, okay, I want this to be Thursday. And you put the time. And so I don't know if you noticed when we first started, in the top there was red numbers. It was counting down because I said it, thank you. I said it to start at 10:45 so that way we had time to talk at the beginning, and it was counting down. So the other day we got yapping, and the one of our guests got in late. We're making the sound check, making sure they're good. And I was like, guys, we went live. We're gonna quickly kick it over to and just go ahead and run our little intro bumper because I wanted to make sure that it actually did push out to all of them. Sometimes every so often Twitter could be a little bit, Elon Musk every so often playing with the wires, throws everything off. So when we close out the show, we just thank everybody for coming. We did create, again, because we're with PAECT, we thank those sponsors. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, all right, we'll roll it, then we'll get talking. So I'm just going to say, all right, well, thank you so much for being a part of from Creation to Curation. I hope we gave you a good base. Hopefully we advanced your levels up a little bit. And I thank you so much for the virtual attendees. I thank you for in person. Love the questions. So thank you very much.
If you'd like an anti-theft sticker, please come up, or you can see us at the PAECT playground, out in the playgrounds.
And now we're going to pay the bills by thanking the sponsors.
PAECT and the PAECT Pod would like to thank our corporate council sponsors. Thank you to ClassLink, Max Cases, Go Guardian, and Bloom. Thank you to Sam Labs, DRC Data Recognition Corporation, and EduSpire. Tech, the next step. PACT thanks these sponsors and thanks you for listening to another episode of the PACT